The Neighbor echoes other horror movies in the genre, Straw Dogs, Hostel, but it also brings that original and fresh feel. So what was the inspiration and approach behind creating this film?
It was taking a story that did have elements that we'd seen and had heard of and try to bring them as close to the true stories that inspire them as possible. And in this case, then we decorated it with authentic moments from our childhood, be it a location, be it a prop, or be it an anecdote that we could fit in about, parents are raising folks who ultimately become villains, and sometimes someone who knows there's a villain has the capability to become a hero. It just depends on how that storm brews and where these folks find themselves. In this case, we had all the ingredients to unleash a perfect storm. And we're so proud of this one because, thanks to that compliment, we bore this one in our own backyard.
Absolutely, I love it. And kind of just going off of that, coming from your Saw universe and other backgrounds, The Neighbor appears to be a little bit more grounded. What would you say was your biggest inspiration as you were writing the script and putting everything together?
Well, with Saw, you knew that every 5-10 minutes there was going to be a horrifying event that was more based just in horror, in the horror of something facing demise. Where in this, it was like we wanted to put the engine of a suspense thriller in right at the top. So you get to know and you get to marinate with characters who are leading themselves closer and closer into a darkness that they cannot escape from. And in that, the horrifying implications are always masked under the idea that this is a thriller first, and the horror comes from people just trying to make a good decision under terrible circumstances.
Well, obviously it's all about the suspense and the thrill. There's a little bit more of a subtext behind it as far as off-the-grid living and America rural living, so just kind of go into detail a little bit more about that and what we can expect as the viewers.
I think we all have a fascination with wanting to know what our neighbors and those that we are living next to are up to make sure maybe they're not up to no good, or maybe we want to know what kind of no good they are up to based on the fascination we've always had with going into a theater, not always to see stories and movies about people who just compliment each other and everything works out. There's something about the thriller and the horror movie that wants us to experience someone having a day far worse than theirs. And sometimes that fascination draws us closer and closer to something that'll bring out something within us. So here we go. With The Neighbor, it's like, all right, let's take that stimulus, the need to want to lean in what if, in order to kind of keep your own secrets, you find something next door that is far worse than you could ever expect.
I love it, and it obviously took a lot of people to make this film possible. So first, let's talk a little bit about Jason Egan. Let's talk about what it was like to partner up with him, kind of with his first cinematic approach, and we know he has that great horror background, but making this transition was a big step for him.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, you have one of the kindest entities on earth, and yet he has one of the best mindsets for horror and how to bring an attraction event feel to it. So when he unleashes the Fright Dome, that's for kids, that's for parents. I took my mom through that, and we loved it. We loved it as one family unit. So to have him come aboard this project, it was nice to see those same skill sets shepherd in a lot of details that we wouldn't be able to get on our own, without his favors, without really his heart. And that is what it takes to ultimately rip one out. You got to have one to begin with, and that's Jason.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And something that maybe we might not always get to talk about, but let's get into a little bit of the score and soundtrack of the movie and kind of the inspiration behind that.
Well, I have been a diehard fan of Nine Inch Nails since I was a kid. When I could grow my hair long, I did it so I could thrash it to Nine Inch Nails. Then, when Charlie Clouser scored the first Saw movie and ended up scoring the subsequent entries, everyone was getting better and better and more dynamic. And I thought, my goodness, someday I will get to work with this gentleman. And in the collector movies, we did. And now with this, he did us such a marvelous favor by granting the finest collaboration we've ever had sonically to bring this story to life. And he skirted the edge between the big of a horror movie, the intensity of action, but he also understands the poetry of suspense. And that what that man can manipulate with silence and energy, most couldn't do with 100 instruments, and that's Charlie.
You gotta tell me, how did you get in character and play something so different than you've never done before?
Well, there's an old saying that you never ask a comedian what makes them laugh, because it's so dark and so bad. So when Marcus called me and said, I want you to be this guy in this movie, I literally said, you know who I am, right? I'm like the country kind of goofy. He goes, that's exactly what I want. And the first day on the set, I was scared to death because everybody on that cast is so strong. But it was amazing how easy it came to me. I loved getting nailed. And I've been a fan of horror films since I was a kid, but this was a real, I don't even know what genre, it's like a murder thriller, and it was so much fun to do, and I so want to do another one. This was so much fun.
Do you have a specific moment or thing that stood out to you that really made you feel like I made the right choice, trying something different, and now here?
Yeah, there's a scene in the movie where one of my sons gets killed, and After the scene was over, Marcus walked up and he said, "That was so spot on." And it was this brief moment that I was really that guy, as opposed to an actor being this guy. Marcus did such a great job of creating an atmosphere that you really feel like this could happen, and it was so much fun.
And talk about what it was like to work alongside some of the other actors like Alex Esso and Josh Stewart, and what it was like to kind of play that sociopath character.
They were so supportive. Josh especially, I wish he could be here tonight, but he works so much. I really learned a lot from watching him. I would watch his scenes that I wasn't in. And just the commitment, I think that's the word, commitment. You have to commit to the role, and good, bad, or different. As long as you're committed to it, it'll come out all right. And so I learned a lot from him as far as how to prepare for a role like this. And Marcus didn't tell me to grow a beard or grow my hair long and all that, but I figured that's what this guy would be. And it was fun to crawl into somebody else's skin and bring him to life.
And obviously the movie's about suspense and thriller, but there's also a very deep script and kind of subtext. Just talk about that a little bit and kind of that off-the-grid American-style living that we see.
Well, that's a great question. The thing I love the most about this movie is this could happen. It's not a slasher kind of. This is like you out in the sticks. Who knows what goes down? And so for me, it was really fun to prepare for this role. And get to the point where, like my character Troy, you want to root for him because he's a guy that his wife died, he has 2 boys he's got to raise, but the way he goes about it, you're like, no, you can't just kidnap people. That's not the way you do it. So it's like you want to feel for him, but then again you want to hate him, and that's a great role to have.
And do you see yourself still going back to the comedy side of things, or will you give horror another try, or where do you stand now?
I'll always do stand-up. I love it. But I'm hoping that this opens the door for some other projects that are like this, that people will see this. Some of my inspirations for this was Robin Williams and Martin Short. They were always the funny guys, but then they did some serious, really kind of freaky stuff, scary movies, and so I'd love to be able to do that. So that, when I was with Blue Collar Comedy Tour, that was great. Loved every minute of it. But I also fight it because people think, especially Hollywood tends to think, oh, that's all he can do. And that's why I'm really hoping that this will show. I want someone in Hollywood to go, oh my God, I didn't know he could do that, and put me in one of their projects. Or hopefully another film with Marcus. I love him.
I think that says a lot about your character that you're able to do both, and we're so excited to see it. Before I let you go, what would you say was the most challenging part about really getting into character and filming this movie?
For me, the hardest was I became such good friends with Luke and Ronnie and Josh that it was hard when all of a sudden I had to kick the living snot out of them, or when Josh and I have our big fight scene, and you got to act like you hate this guy. But the whole time I go, I could hang out with you, but now I got to beat the living hell out of you. Sorry.
You have a past of scaring people, but kind of making this transition into the cinematic side. What do you really think will terrify audiences the most tonight as they watch The Neighbor?
I always wanted to do movies. I love doing live events. I love doing Fright Dome. I love doing Ghost Ship Harbor this year. I absolutely love that. But I wanted to expand that to a whole new audience. I wanted to expand to a worldwide audience. So it's something I've been working on now for a few years to be up on the big screen and to do films. So I had met Marcus Dunstan, the writer and director of this film, a few years back when we did a theme called The Collector and the Collection at Fright Dome. So Marcus and I became good friends, and I kept telling him, I'm like, guys, I want to do a movie. And they're like, oh, well, we just so happen to have this script, Patrick and Marcus did. And I'm like, and I read it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like a cross between Saw and The Collector and a thriller, and we had all these amazing ideas that the actors were going to bring in to do it. And I think the most exciting part tonight is people are going to see Bill Engvall in a role that they've never seen before. They're so used to Bill in comedy, and to see him on the stage, or see him on the big screen doing what he's doing is amazing. So we had such a talented cast and crew, talented director. My business partner, Tony Scrow, him and I executive produced the film. And I know people are going to love it. I feel blessed that everybody came out to this show tonight. And I can't wait to do so many more movies in the future. We've got another one coming called The House of the Exorcist. We haven't shot it yet, but we're working on the script right now. And that's going to be the most sick and twisted thing you've ever seen. So but I'm excited to see what people think. The film is beautiful. The score is amazing. Charlie Clouser did the score of the movie. Now, Charlie was in one of my favorite bands of all time. So he was in Nine Inch Nails. Unbelievable. So it's just like I have to pinch myself sometimes. It's like, really? Is this really happening? Is Marcus Dunstan really directing and writing my film? I mean, that's killer. So I appreciate all the hard work from all the cast and crew. And this is amazing. I get to have my lovely girlfriend Cheyenne on the carpet with me tonight. This is really killer. And then we're going to be scaring the hell out of people in less than a month's time, it looks like, too, in both Las Vegas and Boston this year.
What was it like? What was the experience like working on this movie, and what are we expecting to see tonight?
I think you're going to see a great, entertaining thriller suspense movie that is largely because of how wonderful the cast interacted with each other. I've never seen so many creative, talented people create so much synergy in one room at one time. Best experience I've ever had. It was awesome.
I think the horror genre has really taken off over the years, but what do you think sets The Neighbor apart from other films in the same genre?
I think The Neighbor does an excellent job in terms of balancing a really good storyline with things that are, gonna maybe get you to jump out of your seat just this much.
And before I let you go, do you have a favorite scary movie of all time?
I'm a movie fan. I like them all. I don't know if I have a scary movie that has been my favorite consistently. Other than right now, The Neighbor. Definitely #1, my favorite. Get it now.
What can we expect as viewers that will be a little bit different than other horror movies we might have seen before?
Yeah, I would say this is much more a thriller, where it's a common theme where you have neighbors and you don't know who they are, you don't know what they see you do, and vice versa, and so it kind of feels like it could happen to anybody. And so right off, the tension in the movie is strong, and it just stays the whole way, and you don't really know what's around the corner.
And how was it working with Jason Egan as he made his transition from his haunting attractions over to the cinematic side?
It was great. We've known Jason now for a couple of years. We did a movie called The Collector in Fright Dome. They used it a couple of years ago. And, Jason knows the genre as much as anybody. So we relied on him even from the script stage on some ideas that he had all the way through post-production. Hopefully this will be the first of many that we all do together.
Yeah, it was great to be able to take Jason under our wing and teach the kid a few things about horror.
Yes, obviously you're a pro in the horror genre, but have you been a fan of Marcus Dunstan's work before?
I'm a fan of his work and personally, so I'm excited to see what he's got in store for us.
And kind of coming off of everything you've done, you have a new role in the movie Inoperable. Talk about that a little bit and what we can expect.
Yeah, Inoperable is, it's a whirlwind. It takes place basically in a hospital, and there's a tornado over, and I keep having to relive the night all over again. So it's kind of like Groundhog Day for horror fans.
And kind of talk about how you would prepare for these roles, and maybe how you think some of the actors in tonight's film probably got ready as they were setting out to film The Neighbor tonight.
Gosh, I think that you prepare in the moment. You pretty much take like 5 minutes before you're going to shoot, and you go to a corner and you make yourself hyperventilate to get ready, because there's not really a lot of time. Definitely don't want to spend too much time before you shoot preparing for something unless you have to have a big backstory.
And talk a little bit about your experiences working alongside Michael Myers and in the Halloween films, and kind of what that has created for you today.
I mean, it's given me a name in the horror. It's insane that people are still talking about movies that I did, 25, 30 years ago. So I'm honored to be part of this. Horror genre in general is such a wonderful community, really tight knit. Like my husband just said, you know what I love about these premieres? You can come dressed like anything and nobody cares. So that's true. It's a very eclectic mix of people that have sort of found each other and continue to do things together, and it's pretty awesome to be part of that.
And you obviously love scary movies, but are you a fan of haunted attractions and haunted houses as well?
I mean, Jason's Fright Dome.
You can't beat it.
Amazing. I just want to go out to the one he did in Hong Kong. I mean, that's unbelievable. He pulls stuff off that just nobody can do that. I mean, Vegas, Circus, like, it's unreal. So, mad kudos to him.
Yeah, I was just talking to him. I'm like, Jason, you never disappoint. It's always something. And so what really is drawing you in about The Neighbor, and what are you kind of expecting as we head into the movie tonight?
I just am excited to see what they did together. It's been a while since I've actually seen a really good horror movie, so I have high expectations.
Okay, favorite scary movies of all time, ready, go.
Bela Lugosi.
Strangely enough, I like Saw. And I love how many times it keeps just coming back.
It's never ending.
Saw's never ending.
About 10 of them. Sure.
Shining.
Well, that's a good one. I put you on the spot right there, so it's okay.
For a pop culture guy, I'm going to go with Friday the 13th.
Okay, all good answers, all good answers. Are you guys all tough guys on the inside, or are you going to be covering your eyes a little bit tonight while you're watching The Neighbor?
Gooey on the inside.
Definitely gooey on the inside. I don't do much scaring though.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure if I.
You have to care to be scared.
And what brought you out to the premiere tonight?
I worked with Jason Egan on a lot of projects. Worked with Fright Dome. Worked when we were doing Times Square in New York City, and he helped sort of create some of the horror elements in my magic show. We worked with Jane's Addiction together. We just worked together on a lot of different various projects. Scary stuff. Anything scary and weird, we're there.
Like it. So you're a fan of horror movies and everything in that genre as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. Anybody who says they're too scared, they're not into horror movies, they're secretly into horror movies. How can you not be into it? Because it's such a visceral sort of reaction. It's a true to yourself, I feel anyways. It's like a true to yourself sort of reaction and emotion that you vicariously get to live nightmares and weird stuff. Stuff when you're home alone as a kid. That first time where you got to stay home alone without the babysitter. And stuff got real, and you're looking out the window, and it's dark out, and when are mom and dad coming home? Because if it was before cell phones, that was icky and scary. So yeah, horror movie ticks all the boxes. I think that's part of growing up, part of being a human as well.
And before I let you go enjoy the movie, do you have a favorite horror movie of all time?
Yeah, I have a favorite horror movie, and maybe this isn't considered horror, but it's called The Begotten. Not maybe a lot of people know about it, but look it up. It's called The Begotten. You can watch it on YouTube. It's completely silent. There's no sound to it, and it's high contrast, black and white. It's pretty gnarly. The Begotten. Check it out. It's weird.
I was really impressed. Really, really great movie, and I'm really proud of Jason too. It's great.
Oh my God, it was very suspenseful. I don't even like scary movies, but that movie was really good. Really good.
I totally enjoyed it. It was interesting, and the nice part was I had Bill Engvall right behind us as we were cheering him dying in the movie.
Phenomenal, unbelievable. Everybody has to go see this. This is a work unbelievable.
It was perfect. I mean, it couldn't have got any better, really.
Oh, it kicked ass.
Oh, I loved it. It was great.
Now, how did you think it went with the crowd's reaction while it was happening?
Well, there's so many moments you can absolutely judge, and one was we had a particular scare, and we sat in the middle, kind of towards the back, so when everyone jumped as if it was the final twist of a roller coaster, like, all right, we go.
Well, then you definitely saw me jump. I was in the upper left-hand side, and I tell you what, I'm jumping the entire time.
Well, thank you so much. This just means the world. Thank you.
This is a great day, Mr. Dunson. Thank you so much for your time.
It was great. I never thought I'd hear people cheer me getting killed, but it was. I guess I did my job. It was fun for me. It was a real departure from just being the comedy guy and doing that.
I tell you what, you look like an evil fellow on that screen.
Well, I thank Marcus. Marcus pulled stuff out of me that I didn't know I had, and it was really fun to watch it up on the big screen.
I thought that it was awesome. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I love everybody involved. So many people from The Collector. It was awesome. I love it. I love it.
Oh yes, it was amazing, suspenseful. You didn't know what was going to happen, twists and turns. It was a really wonderful film.
It was such an amazing film. It was good. It was scary. I don't do a lot of horror films. I don't. But this one had me on the edge of my seat. I loved the creative rendition and the artist's work. All the actors, it's phenomenal.
I liked the storyline, how you could kind of tell like it was leading into something, but it didn't really say anything, but you could just kind of see like there was some shadiness going on.
Too scary, honestly, but very suspenseful, and I was at the edge of my seat the whole time.
I feel amazing. I thought it was awesome. I love the soundtrack. I love the acting. I love how everything turned out. Marcus did an amazing job writing and directing it, and I hope this is the beginning to many more movies together with Marcus. And it was a wild roller coaster ride. The response has been amazing so far. The reviews have been great. So I'm so excited that everybody got to come out tonight and see my film. And it's so different than my typical haunted houses and stuff like that. They got to see it on the big screen, and that's pretty cool. That's a great feeling. So yeah, I'll admit, they gave me butterflies to see the movie on the big screen. So that was pretty badass. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight, and look for The Neighbor September 6th, DVD, VOD, and on Blu-ray.